Ruski Ed here, and I was asked to start a new channel on which to share coding tips. More on that in a moment following the intro song. Ruski Ed is here for a tech tip rendezvous. Ruski Ed is here with some coding tips for you. They say that Scratch has a high ceiling and a low floor. And basically that means that Scratch is so easy to use that even students in elementary school can figure out how to use it, but powerful enough to be useful to high school students. If you need basic instructions on how to use Scratch, take a look at the resource link provided in the description for this video. What I'm going to demonstrate in this tutorial is a little trick that might come in handy at some time as you are working on a project in Scratch. This example comes from a Scratch project which an associate of mine turned into a YouTube video. The project at Scratch has over 10,000 views, and the video on YouTube has over 6,800 views. That's not a huge number of views, but it's not all that bad either. So let's take a look at the trick. But before we get to the trick, it is time to reveal the Russian word of the day, and that word is center, which, as you might guess, means center, and as you will soon see, it is very relevant to the topic of this lesson. In fact, let's take a look at the demo program now. What we have here is an old-style analog clock with hands moving around its face. As you can see, the minute hand moves at a faster rate than the hour hand, and both are moving in a clockwise direction. So, to kind of kick things off, let's take a look at the sprites used in this simple animation. As you can see, we have three sprites, the face of the clock and a sprite for each of the hands on the clock. Now let's inspect the code which controls these sprites. As you can see, the face of the clock just sits there and doesn't do much. Next, let's look over the code for the minute hand. As you can see, it rotates 6 degrees every 10th of a second. At this rate, it should theoretically take approximately 6 seconds to travel around the face of the clock, since 6 times 10 times 6 equals 360. The code for the hour hand is quite similar to that of the minute hand, except that it moves at a rate which is 1/12 as fast as the minute hand, since the minute hand goes around the face of the clock 12 times for every one trip the hour hand completes. Put another way, during the time that the minute hand rotates 360 degrees, the hour hand should only rotate 30 degrees. A likely problem you might experience while attempting to implement this little clock demo from Scratch turns out not to be a coding problem, but a little detail you might forget about while drawing the image for the hand sprites. If you don't place the center of the sprite image in the proper location, it will be difficult to get the hand to behave properly. Notice that when I change the center from the end of the arrow to the tip of the arrow, the animation changes in a somewhat odd way. Similarly, if I place the center of the image in the middle of the arrow, the results aren't exactly what I desire either. By placing the center back at the end of the arrow, the problem is fixed and the clock works correctly. As a somewhat bizarre experiment, we might place the center of the image off to the side of the image and then observe what happens. As you can see, we wind up with unusual rotational behavior. Again, by placing the center of the image at the end of the arrow, all is fixed and we wind up with the desired behavior. The key lesson here is that the location of the center of your sprite will have an impact on how your sprite rotates, and since sprite rotation is often an important factor in projects with moving sprites, it's something that you should be aware of. Please feel free to check out the time-shifting video on YouTube and the corresponding project at Scratch. Also, the demo project used in the lesson is available at Scratch. Links in the video description down below. Remember that you can experiment with projects at Scratch, and so if you want to play around with the ideas presented in this video, just click the Look Inside button on the project page and modify it to your heart's content. Don't forget that the Russian word of the day for this lesson was center. And don't forget to subscribe for upcoming Scratch tips. By the way, here's the sentence shown in the intro segment for your edification. Drugaya slova dla centra seredina, which means another word for center is middle. And that's it for this lesson. Ruski Ed, signing out now. Das vidanya.